Coming up today, we're going to talk about a centre half who could be on his way out of the club. We're also going to look at the bid Celtic rejected for a striker yesterday. We'll discuss the new interest in Nicholas Kühn, and before we finish up, we'll look at the third kit which was released today, and the big news yesterday that Celtic are the 8th most financially sustainable football club in Europe. Here we go. What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. It's Friday's transfer update. We'll start with the latest new transfer news that's come out related to Celtic this morning, and that is that Gustav Lagerbielke is the subject of a €2 million bid from Braga in Portugal. Now, he's just returned from FC20, or just finished his loan spell, I suppose, at FC20, where he was last season. Braga have bid €2 million, that's about £1.7 million for the centre half. He's obviously keen on the move. This has been released by the killer of all transfer joy, Fabrizio Romano. He actually got it wrong though this morning, because he put a post up about Lagerbielke. I'm sure some of you've seen it, where he said that Braga had sent a bid of €2 million to FC20. He had to delete that tweet, and then about an hour later he put up that the bid was obviously to Celtic, because Gustav Lagerbielke is a Celtic player. So it looks like he's going to move on. He is one of those centre halves that we talked about last week, who I think it makes sense for him to move on. It's a transfer that hasn't worked out. I think £1.7 million would represent about £1.5 to £2 million loss for Celtic. I think £3.5 million we brought him in for in that 23-24 season. So this is a failed transfer. It's about damage limitation, trying to recoup some of that transfer fee back. He barely played for the club. He was in and out last season, in his first season at the club. Played barely a handful of games, handful of starts. I think he had that run early in his Celtic career where he'd maybe played 6 or 7 games and we'd kept a clean sheet in all of them, and then he dropped off the face of the earth. He came back in that Champions League game against Feyenoord. He scored the last minute winner, and you thought maybe he'll get back in now, and he just disappeared again. So it's a failed transfer. It hasn't worked out, and hopefully this Braga interest does go on to becoming a permanent deal, and he can move on, and we can clear out, get one body off the list in that department. Because as I say, I'd like to see us add a centre half this summer, but we will need to get at least 2 or 3 out the door. So it looks like Gustav Lagerbielke could be on his way to Portugal in a €2 million move, €2 million move to Braga. Now let's move on to some stuff that I missed yesterday. Nicholas Kühn is the subject of an approach from Como in Italy. We're obviously going to play over in Como in that pre-season tournament at the end of July. They are interested in the German winger as well. It looks like the Leipzig interest in the last couple of days has maybe cooled. I think another German outlet sort of reined in the report that the negotiations were at an advanced stage. I don't think there's been any official bid from Leipzig, and again that kind of marries up with the fact that they don't have a new head coach in the door yet. So it looks like the Leipzig interest isn't as advanced as it was reported on Monday, Tuesday, but Como are now at the table looking to approach a deal for Kühn, and I think that tells you that there is interest. Again, I've talked about Newcastle in January, Leipzig this summer, now Como as well. So there is clearly interest in Nicholas Kühn, and I think the ball is rolling in terms of him making a transfer out of Celtic this summer. Now, I think with these clubs being involved, and hopefully multiple clubs being interested, that gives Celtic a strong negotiating position. I think he's still got 4 years left to run in his contract. So it's a very strong position that Celtic find themselves in. And I think with multiple clubs interested, you've got to hope that drives up the price, hopefully closer to 20 million. If Leipzig want to come with a concrete offer in the next week or two and Como are there as well, then you can maybe play them against each other and drive the price higher. That would be the best outcome for Celtic. But I think whatever the case is, there's clear interest in him. And this goes for both business in and out. The quicker it gets done, the better. Kühn's obviously a big player for us. He was a key player last season, despite his drop-off in form towards the end of the campaign. And you don't want to be going into the start of the season still with him there, still with the question marks and the speculation hanging over his head. So I think if this can be done in the next couple of weeks, we can move on. Obviously, there's talk of the Nygren deal being done imminently. I think it'd be nice to see someone in the door, a new face. The club did confirm the arrival of Ross Doohan the other day, which again we knew about from the well-established links towards the end of the season. We knew that Kühn was coming back, so it'd be nice to see the deal for Benjamin Nygren go through sooner rather than later. And if you're waiting for the sort of in-depth video on the attacking areas of the pitch, I'm waiting for the Nygren deal to go through before we do that, so you can blame Celtic on the delay for that one. But I think it's best if Kühn can move on, if it happens earlier rather than later, because you look at Matt O'Reilly last season. He played the first couple of league games. He didn't really leave till maybe the last week or so of August, last couple of weeks, and then we ended up the last day, the last couple of hours, the last couple of minutes almost with Engels and McKeown coming in the door. So if you can, you want to avoid that situation. I know that football transfers are complex. It's not always smooth sailing. You can't do everything quickly. There's a lot of moving parts to them that we maybe don't know about because we don't see them, we don't deal with them. But I think if Kühn wants to move on and there's interest in him, the quicker a deal can be done, the better. It gives Brendan Rodgers time to adjust to the squad and how it looks without him. But also more time to evaluate things in terms of replacing them and making sure we've got the adequate depth that we need. Also yesterday, Celtic rejected a 500 grand bid for Johnny Kenny from Bolton. Now, this is an interesting one because Johnny Kenny's one that I think probably will want to go out and play and move on. He is 22 years of age. We brought him to the club for 200 grand, 250 grand from Shamrock Rovers a couple of years ago. At 22, he's no longer really that young, and I don't think he's in a position where, he's going to have to do a lot to get in the thoughts of Brendan Rodgers to become even second choice striker, to play more minutes than he did at the back end of last season. I think that situation that came up last season with Kyogo moving on and not being replaced was the best circumstances for Johnny Kenny to try and get minutes, and he didn't really get that many. I think he made around 10 appearances. He scored that goal at Pataudry, and you can tell he's got a bit of goal scoring prowess, but he's going to have to go some to really get in contention in this Celtic squad. So it's interesting that we think £500,000 is not near the valuation for him. I think the understanding is that if that's the price, we would rather let him go on loan for the season. It's going to be interesting to see how that develops. I think doubling your money on him seems, I know it's a nominal fee, 500 grand in the context of Celtic's finances, but it's going to be interesting to see how that develops, because I think it might be best for us to move him on, especially if we're going to look at bringing another striker in, and Callum Osmond, who we think is imminently going to become a Celtic player as well. He looks like he's going to take up that sort of initially third place striker role that Johnny Kenny played the back half of last season. So we'll keep an eye on what's happening with Johnny Kenny. Do you think we should have accepted £500,000? Do you think that's a good deal for him? Would you like to see him move on, or would you like to see him stay and try and stake his claim to get a place in the team next season? Let us know in the comments. Now that's it for transfer news. I think we've covered all the new bits of information that I've missed over the last couple of days since I was last with you. This morning, Celtic's new third kit for season 25-26 was released. You can see it on the screen now. Now, I'll always try to be magnanimous and we try and stay away from hyperbole on this channel at the best of times, but that might be the worst Celtic kit of all time, in my opinion. And I know it's futile because these things are subjective. It's totally down to your personal preference. Some people might well love it, but I think it almost looks like a fake kit. You know, these like horrible fake kits you sometimes see people cutting about with. They maybe picked up in Turkey when they're on holiday or something. I mean, it really is that bad. Let me know in the comments what you think of it. I don't want to go in any heavier than I already have done, but it's not for me, that, and I think it is right up there with one of the worst Celtic kits of all time. I don't see it growing on me. I know there's been some sort of dubious Adidas designs in the last couple of years, and then you see it in person, you think, oh, you know what, it's not that bad. I certainly don't think this falls under that category, and I don't even think it's one that in years to come, in 20 years' time, we'll look back and go, oh, that's actually really cool in it. That sort of tie-dye design is just, it's not happening for me. I need to be honest with you. Disappointed in Adidas this season so far. Even the training kit is a bit underwhelming. There was this talk about us going to the elite category with Adidas. I am underwhelmed by the output this season. I think the kit designs have been poor, generally speaking. But again, that comes back to preference, and I know some of you might like them, and everybody's free to choose whatever they like. But even the training kits, which I think have been relatively good, I'm wearing one right now from a previous season. I think looking at this season stuff as well, it's just a bit underwhelming. So there you go. What does it matter? I'm sure a lot of you are listening think it's only a kit. Who cares? And there is that point of view as well. But aye, that third kit is not for me. The only saving grace, I suppose, is that it's a third kit. We might probably wear it 2-3 times. What is it, St Mirren away? You think of that grey one we had a couple of years ago. I can only ever really remember wearing it against St Mirren away. So it's not one we're going to wear very often. And in my opinion, thank goodness. Right, last piece of news that we've missed this week then is that Celtic, off the pitch, have confirmed that Celtic are the 8th most financially sustainable football club in Europe. I'm sure some of you saw that information going around online on social media the other day. I think we're second in terms of the UK. Man City are above us, but we don't have 115 charges of financial regulation breaches against us. So by proxy, we are probably the most financially sustainable football club in the UK, and we're not owned by a state either. So we know that Celtic's well run. I suppose this is a good accolade for the people that run the club. I think it's gratifying for them to see how they rank against peers in Europe. There's absolutely no debate that Celtic are ran well from a business perspective. We are financially sound, financially stable. You just have to look at the club's accounts and the bank balance to see that. I think the challenge, as it always is for Celtic, is about balancing sustainability, given the league that we play in and the sort of constraints that puts on us, with efficiently using the capital that we've built up to constantly improve and constantly get better. And that's both on the pitch and off the pitch. I know the club have invested some money in the redevelopment at Barrowfield. At Lennoxtown, I think they've changed some things. They're also doing some work at Celtic Park. I think those are all things that you have to do. I think there's an onus on the club to do those things when you have the resources that Celtic have currently got. And I know that I was quite critical of the statement that came out in, I think, maybe last year's finances, that the club are planning for the next time they don't make the Champions League. I know that that's not all in Celtic's control, and there's a coefficient element to that which looks like it's going to change in the next few years and make life more difficult for us in terms of Champions League qualification. But as always, the challenge for the club is to use that money properly and not whittle it away and not end up posting 20 million quid profit and then pay a huge chunk of that in corporation tax, because that's inefficient. And I think that's the big challenge for the club when they have the volume of capital that they've built up, is using it well to improve the squad that's on the pitch, to enhance the match day experience, to improve the facilities at the club, to make Celtic better all round. And yes, keep that financial sustainability going, but constantly improve in all areas as well. So there you go. That's it for today. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed below. And most importantly, let me know your thoughts on that third kit. If you think I'm miles off it, in my opinion, let us know in the comments. I'll see you early next week, hopefully, with some transfer news, some concrete transfer news. Hopefully the Benjamin Nygren deal is done and dusted, and then we can look at in depth at the attacking areas as they currently stand. But that's it for today. Like the video, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.